we are officially 1 week out from NXT moving to TV, and I guess you could say this episode is the last of an era. I mean, technically not, because the next 2 weeks of NXT, the first hour goes on USA, the last hour goes on the WWE Network, but this is the last, episode that is just WWE Network. It's the end of an era. Don't you guys love that slogan that everyone says nowadays? It's the end of an era. It's one of those buzzwords in wrestling. Era is such a overused term nowadays. But anyway, hey, what is up, you guys? It is Tyler. Welcome back to the Tyler Williams channel, and welcome to another NXT review. I've not reviewed NXT in about 2 months. Yeah, it's like every time I try to get an NXT, I just kind of pull out. I don't know. I feel like it's hard to get into something that you don't really care too much about anymore. Now, it's competition time. We're about to see AEW versus NXT, so if anything, it's more interesting for me to watch NXT now than ever. So I feel like, okay, this is probably a good time to start trying to get back into NXT. Like, the last few times, I was just watching it to watch it. I wasn't really trying to get back into it, but now I'm actually like, all right, let me get into these wrestlers once again. So here's my review of the last episode of NXT before it goes to NXT USA Network. I think it's just WWE NXT, whatever. One take, that's all we're doing. So anyway, guys, let's get straight into this review. So the first match we had here was Damian Priest versus Boa. Now, Boa was from the NXT Breakout Tournament. Did I watch his match? He had a match against Jordan Miles. I don't remember if I watched it or not. I was supposed to watch the entire tournament, but then I was like, I just didn't watch the whole thing. But Damian Priest, he ended up squashing Boa, finished him off with a discus boot followed by a crossroads. I don't know what he calls it, but it's a crossroads to me. Damian Priest, he's a pretty impressive guy. I've seen matches of his outside of NXT. He's a pretty good wrestler. I appreciate his work. He just rings too true to me of Baron Corbin. Like, every time I look at that guy, whether it be his entrance or just the feel of him, like, he doesn't wrestle like Baron Corbin's moveset is very straightforward, very boring, honestly. Damian Priest is more interesting of a wrestler than Baron Corbin is, but I just can't help but feel like this guy, if he goes anywhere that's not named NXT, whether it be Raw or SmackDown, he will be Baron Corbin light. Like, that's how I feel about Damian Priest right now. And it's not a knock on him at all. It's just the feel I get from watching WWE for so long, you know? Like, these big... It's not like he's a big, strong guy. Like, he's not, like, bulky or anything. He's kind of like that tallish... I don't want to say lanky, because that pretty much says that he's skinny, because he's not. Like, tallish, you know, guys that kind of can throw you around, but maybe do a little bit of speed in there. Like, he's one of those guys. He's one of those Baron Corbin types, and I hate saying that so much, because I don't want to compare him to Baron Corbin, but I just see it. That's all I'm going to say. We did get an announcement of Velveteen Dream versus Roderick Strong next week on the USA Network for the NXT North American Championship. You know, at this point in time, Undisputed Era has been a unit for 2 years now. Yeah, 2 years, because they united back in August of 2017. So 2 years. The team of the team of Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish have been tag team champions now 3 times, well, 2 times. 2 times, because the second time was Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong because Bobby Fish was injured. So they've been tag team champions 2 times. Adam Cole is currently the NXT champion. I guess you could say it's time for Roderick Strong to be North American champion, so that way they can have the whole, everyone's holding the championships. You know, with WWE and factions, and it's a wrestling thing, when you have a faction, everyone has to hold a title, so that way the faction looks strong. It's kind of been the whole tradition with these faction things when you're building up one. Everyone has to hold, everyone who's meaningful, because you can have a Nexus-like faction, and like only a few guys hold titles. But in this situation, I feel like it kind of calls for it. They've been on the roster long enough. You could do it now. And since NXT is moving to TV, the question now is, do they do call-ups anymore? Is there a such thing as an NXT call-up if they're on TV. Like NXT, I said it for a long time, NXT developmental. But now it's actually can be considered a third brand. So, do you put all the titles on them and talk about the possibility of them going to Raw or SmackDown? Or do you say, okay, all of them hold the titles and then they keep those titles for a while? Like, you can't just put the titles on them and then they drop it the next takeover. Like, they got to hold on to it for a while and establish them on TV as a dominant force. So I think that's what they're going to go with. And I think Roderick Strong wins the NXT North American Championship next week. Then we get Johnny wrestling. So Johnny Gargano, last time he was seen on NXT television was before his match against Johnny Gargano. I mean, his match against himself. Yeah, okay. His match against Adam Cole at NXT TakeOver Toronto, where they had that, what was it, a 3 Stages of Hell match. Let me just say this. I probably commented on this before. I've not been a fan of Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole matches. Like, I'm just not a fan of their feud whatsoever. I'm glad it's over. Like, their first match at NXT TakeOver New York, which I originally was going to go to, but then I was kind of persuaded into going to Joey Janela's Spring Break 3, which I was very excited, very happy that I went to that instead. I watched that match probably a day later, and I was like, I mean, it was a great match, but everybody was saying it's like the greatest match in NXT history. I'm like, all right, calm down. I don't think any NXT match will ever get better than Johnny Gargano versus Andrade Cien Almas at NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. You will never move me off that boat. Never. Never. And I think part of it is just because I was there to experience it. But in my opinion, that will always be the greatest match in NXT history. Up until there's another match that comes out in 2020. But we'll see about that. I highly doubt it, though. Then they had the second match. And everyone was singing high praise. Oh, it was an amazing match and this and that. And I'm like, guys, it seemed like the second match. It seemed like the first match. Like, the thing about the first and second match is that these guys, the first half of it was good. The second half was good. But then the last half was ridiculous. Because they kept on kicking out and kicking out and kicking out and kicking out of these moves and these finishers and these sequences. It was a kick out fest for the last 10 minutes of the match. And I just kind of tuned out of it at that point. I just couldn't get into it. And then the third match came around. I still haven't really been seeing I'll be honest. I have not seen a third match. I just had no interest in seeing it. And then everyone was talking about how, oh, it was over the top with the spots. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to watch it. So, I wasn't a fan of their feud. Johnny Gargano lost the title. He lost his rematch. So, it seemed all like it's leading to him leaving NXT and going to 205 Live, which I heard is now ending and merging with NXT, so that's not a possibility anymore. He's going to Raw or SmackDown, which you might as well be counting your fucking chickens at that point because he's just as good as dead. But what else is he going to do on NXT? Think about it. He's been the Tag Team Champion, he's been the North American Champion, and he's been NXT Champion. What more is there for Johnny Gargano to do? So he comes out here, and first thing he's treated to is Johnny Wrestling chants. Now this goes on for like 3 minutes, and I'm like, oh my god, Full Sail, shut the fuck up so we can get on with the promo. Like, Full Sail, you know, they're spoiled. I don't care if anyone from Orlando is listening to this. If they are, you are a spoiled crowd. You get treated to NXT wrestling shows every month, every other week. The second they get away from you guys and they start touring, you're gonna realize what you're missing out on. You're gonna realize what you lost. Crowd was annoying me in this segment. Just this 3 minutes of Johnny Wrestling. I had to fast forward after the 2 minute mark because I couldn't stand it. But Johnny Wrestling started speaking about how, you know, everyone's talking about how I'm gonna be leaving and I lost my match and there's nothing else for me to do and I've made my decision and I'm going to. And then Shane Thorne cuts him off and I'm like, Shane Thorne? Of all people, Shane Thorne. I like Shane Thorne. When TM61 was the thing about NXT, I thought Shane Thorne was like probably the best one of the two. And I know Mikey Nichols is now in New Japan Pro Wrestling, but I still like Shane Thorne more. So he comes out here and he's like, yeah, da da da. I don't know. I forgot what he said, honestly. But he tells Johnny Gargano to leave the ring and go to wherever he wants to go. Johnny's about to leave the ring, but he super kicks Shane Thorne. He says, I'm not going anywhere. And the crowd cheers, and I'm like, I guess I should be happy about that. I don't know. I'm conflicted. That's the thing about NXT being a third brand, is that when you have one main title and you've won it already, and you have a secondary title and you've won it already, and you have tag titles and you've won that already, it's like they don't have a Money in the Bank. They don't have some Royal Rumble. They don't have these yearly annual tournaments. I mean, they might start doing them. I'm not sure, but NXT is not like that big of a brand that it feels like there's much more to it than those 3 titles. So once you win them, it's like, what else do you do? At that point, I was very much all accepting Johnny's fate on Monday Night Raw. If anything, he was supposed to go to Monday Night Raw up until Tommaso Ciampa got injured. But nonetheless, Johnny's staying on NXT. I guess that's good for me because I get to see more great wrestling from Johnny Gargano on NXT. But like I said, I don't know what else they're going to have to do with him. I mean, I guess they can wait till Tommaso Ciampa comes back and continue that feud. But it's like, if there's no NXT Championship, there's really no reason to continue that feud. Like, Tommaso had to win that title back and then pick... I don't know what they could do with Johnny at this point, but we'll see. We'll see in due time. Then we get to the next match, Pete Dunne versus Angel Garza, otherwise known as Mexican Taichi, as I call him. Good little match. They had some nice mat wrestling to start off, which kind of progressed into Pete Dunne taking a lot of the offense. Angel Garza had a lot of good defensive wrestling. Defensive wrestling is such a hidden gem in today's society. Like, today's wrestling doesn't really appreciate a lot of technical defensive wrestling unless you're like in the UK or something. Like, a lot of Americans don't appreciate that shit, but I appreciate it. Anyway, in the end, Pete Dunne countered a splash from Angel Garza, which he countered into a triangle position, and he put Angel on his back and started doing the finger snap thing, and Angel Garza tapped out. So Pete Dunne won the match. I've never been a fan of that whole, finger snap submission thing. I just think it's stupid. Because it's like, here's the thing with me. With Pete Dunne, if you're going to do the finger snap thing earlier in the match, alright, fine, whatever. But if you're going to then, in the match, the finger snap, it's like, don't do the finger snap beginning of the match. Don't do it in the beginning of the match if you're going to use it later as a submission. I mean, I guess I could kind of see the whole, oh, well, the fingers have been, broken already, so now he's just manipulating it and torturing them, so they have no choice but to tap out. I don't know. I just can't buy into the finger snap submission. That's just me. I didn't buy into it at NXT TakeOver UK, whatever it was at the beginning of the year when he tapped to Joe Coffey. I didn't buy into it when he faced Walter. Can't buy into it now. But nonetheless, Pete Dunne won the match. I don't know if this means Pete Dunne is going to be on the main roster. The main roster, yeah. I don't know if this means Pete Dunne is going to be on NXT television now. But I wouldn't mind that at all. Not at all. We then get to the next match. Raul Mendoza versus Cameron Grimes? I said Grimes. I think it's Cameron Grimes. I only remember Raul Mendoza from his match against Kota Ibushi at the Cruiserweight Classic. God, was that an amazing tournament. But, he had a pretty good match here with Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes he's an oddball character. I mean, like, as a wrestler, he's good. But as a character, he's so odd. Like, he comes out there with that top hat and the vest. I don't understand what he's supposed to be. Does anyone know what Cameron Grimes is supposed to be? I'm just confused by that right now. But nonetheless, Raul Mendoza went for a corkscrew moonsault. Cameron Grimes dodges this and hits him with a leaping double foot stomp for the pin. He finished off the match, and Cameron Grimes is your winner. The double foot stomp, as a finisher, a jumping, like, mushroom stomp, I guess I can buy that as a finisher. I don't know. When I see other wrestlers dive off the top rope like Isaiah Scott, finish off the match with that, that's cool. But then when Cameron Grimes leaps off the mat, like probably 5 feet in the air and does it, it's like, oh, okay. But Dakota Kai is returning to NXT. I'm so excited for this. Dakota Kai is one of my favorite female wrestlers in all of NXT. When she got injured, I was very upset. I think she got injured sometime last year, honestly. So I was very upset about that. But now they're getting her back, so this is going to be great. It's going to be a nice addition to the NXT women's roster, which is pretty small when you could think about it. You have Bianca Belair, Shayna Baszler, Io Shirai, Candice LeRae. Who else you have? You have Tainara Conchi. I mean, they have a set women's division, but you don't really see all of them all at once. But now they're moving to TV, where they're either going to be exposed for having a small women's division, or they're going to really show that their women's division has just been very underutilized. We'll see what happens next week and the weeks to come with their women's division. But as of right now, I stand for it being pretty small. Dakota Kai coming back is a good addition. Speaking of the women's division, we get into the main event. Rhea Ripley versus Shayna Baszler. The sole reason I tuned into this show was this match. And I thought it was pretty good. Nothing special. They didn't really get enough time. It went like, what, maybe 7-8 minutes? Rhea Ripley went at Shayna. She was kind of the dominant force for the most part. It's very odd to see Shayna Baszler on defense a lot, because she's usually dominating her opponents. She's not a big wrestler, but, you know, that MMA background she uses to her advantage, and that leads to her being a dominant force. So when she's on defense, it's very, very interesting. And I think Rhea Ripley, it made for a nice dynamic in this match. Rhea Ripley she didn't throw Shayna around any points, but like her getting the striker offense, this electric chair drop she did onto Shayna onto the steps outside was pretty good. It was just a nice dynamic between the two, and I hate repeating myself, I really do. But shortly after Shayna was starting to get her ass kicked by Rhea Ripley, about 7-8 minutes into this match, her goons came out. What are their names? Marina Shafir, Jessamine Duke. Yeah, her goons came out. Rhea Ripley sent them off. This led Shayna to the chair. She tried to strike Rhea Ripley, but she grabbed the chair and struck Shayna Baszler, getting DQ'd. But she didn't care. She just wanted to get at Shayna Baszler, which I bought into that, you know? She was just kind of Rhea Ripley style. I bought into that finish. So I'm like, all right, whatever. After the match, she took the chair shot in the ring for Shayna to get back to the ring, but she ran up the ramp with her goons. So that sets up a future match between the two. They didn't give too much away. I'm all for an NXT TakeOver match between these two women at NXT TakeOver, whatever they're going to be in. Where are they going to be this year in Survivor Series? They were at LA last year. I'm not sure, but whatever the NXT TakeOver is next time, I'm for this match. At the end of the show, we got a promo from Undisputed Era saying they will fulfill They will fulfill their prophecy next week by getting all the gold. Like I said, I think it's time. I think they will get all the gold next week. I will address one more thing before I go. This is a long NXT review. Usually my reviews only go like 15-10 minutes. This is like almost 20. Jesus. I will say one more thing before I go. There has been a lot of rumors about Kevin Owens. Is he going to join Undisputed Era? He's been teasing joining NXT. A lot of rumors about him joining Undisputed Era. You know, they're moving to TV. Are they going to put a WWE, a big WWE name on NXT to get them some viewers for that first few weeks? I mean, I wouldn't mind it. If you ask me, Tyler, what is your favorite period in NXT? I would tell you it's 2014 to 2015. There was no point in NXT I was so invested in that product than 2014 and 2015 when Adrian Neville, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Samoa Joe were dominating. That was the best period. Kevin Owens as NXT champion was probably one of the best. Kevin Owens was probably one of the best NXT champions of all time. So I am not at all against him going back to NXT. Wouldn't mind it at all. Would he take away from the NXT wrestlers being that he's the bigger star, though? Would he take away from the Undisputed Era? I don't think so. I think the NXT crowd, any NXT fans, now maybe new viewers might be more interested in him than the rest of the faction, but NXT fans won't mind this at all. I think that it will be a nice dynamic, a nice change up. But like I said, I'm not lobbying for it, but I wouldn't mind seeing it. Nonetheless, I'm going to jet. Thank y'all for listening to this review of NXT. This is the last review of NXT I will be doing for a while, as next week we will start off our Wednesday night war streams. Guys, starting next week, I will be streaming every single Wednesday, 8 to 10. NXT, AEW going head-to-head, starting October 2nd. I'll have to give you guys an update on the first stream for Wednesday Night Wars because October 2nd is a little in doubt for me. But I'll give you guys an update very soon. As always, thank you all for watching this video. I love you guys always, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace out, guys.